Another big pop in Indian gold demand. Gold imports into India hit a 5-month high in August. So around 120 metric tons of physical gold was imported into India after a slump over the last couple months. Remember that there was a big pop, I think it was in either March or April, and then there was somewhat of a slump. The slump was somewhat unexpected, but the demand for physical gold in India is increasing again. This is despite the paper price in US dollars not doing very much, and this is a very common theme. While the paper price in US dollars either gets smashed or doesn't do very much, normally in the past it tends to, especially when the paper price gets smashed, buyers in China, India, Asia, and central banks tend to buy more. So if you're new to the gold market, this is what's going to happen. It's not going to move the manipulated paper gold price right away, but a lot of gold miners are still making a lot of money. And the Denver Gold Forum is coming up next week. There should be a lot of mergers and acquisitions coming up in the next 6 or so months, as long as valuations on some of these gold stocks remain relatively low. So the more well-run gold miners, the ones that actually have very clean balance sheets with a lot of cash on the balance sheet, record profit margins, good free cash flow, they're going to go on a buying spree in the next 6 or so months. So your Newmont Minings, your Agnico Eagles, your Kirkland Lake Golds, your Pan American Silvers, they're going to go buy producing gold miners because it is cheaper to buy a producing gold mining company that already has gold mines because of the discount compared to building a gold mine from scratch. It is way cheaper to go and buy assets that are already generating cash flow in the gold mining space than to build a gold mine from scratch. Also, if you're interested in buying more physical gold or silver, my friend Joseph has a new YouTube channel, or relatively new. He is a friend of the show and also a patron. He tracks the premiums for the online bullion dealers for gold and silver to see which bullion dealers have the best premiums on gold and silver coins and bars. His YouTube channel is Premium Tracker Silver Stacker. That is free, and he does weekly updates on that. So if you want to check that out, again, it is free. It is Premium Tracker Silver Stacker. I'll attach a link to the YouTube channel in the information and description section. Finally, if you like content like this and want to help keep content like this free so it doesn't all end up behind a paywall, or you want far more in-depth content, research, financial education, and analysis than I provide in these short little free videos, there are now 29 new articles out in the last 13 or so weeks, all for the cost of a Starbucks cup of coffee, only $5 a month, on a lot of interesting topics about global macro, companies, and sectors. I charge less than anyone else in the space for premium content. There are a lot of interesting articles about gold miners, silver miners, precious metal royalty and streaming companies, which ones are raising their dividends while gold and silver paper prices in US dollars are not really doing very much or manipulated. A lot of these underlying businesses are actually doing very well. They're raising dividends. They have a lot of cash. I expect a lot of acquisitions coming up in the next 6 months from the better run companies. They're going to go buy assets. This is the first time in the history of the industry where the better run companies actually have good profit margins, actually have good free cash flow, actually have clean balance sheets, actually have a lot of cash to go and buy quality assets for cheap. And the disconnect between a producing gold mine versus building a new gold mine, there is an enormous disparity. The quality assets for gold miners that are already producing are very cheap relative to building a gold mine from scratch. So you're going to see the larger and better run gold companies, the royalty and streaming companies, the larger ones, and the better run gold miners take advantage of this, in my opinion, in the next 6 or so months, with mergers and acquisitions. And a lot of this will start with the groundwork next week at the Denver Gold Forum. A lot of deals end up getting done either at the Denver Gold Forum or within a month or two afterwards. So the next 6 months are going to be exciting for the gold space, whether or not the paper prices go up or not. There are going to be some very large mergers and acquisitions, I expect. There are now over 180 articles, charts, and audio podcasts behind the paywall on a lot of interesting topics about global macro, companies, and sectors. I just put out a uranium article last week. There might be another uranium update in the next couple days or week as an added bonus to patrons. So if I could wrap up this short little video very quickly, there are foreigners in India buying the dip in the manipulated paper gold price in US dollars. So despite the paper gold price not doing very much, there was another big spike, a 5-month high in Indian gold imports of around 120 metric tons. And we should start to see big mergers and acquisitions because of how cheap the valuations are on producing gold miners and how cheap cash flows are for a producing gold miner like a Newmont Mining, a Kirkland Lake Gold, an Agnico Eagle, or a Pan American Silver to go out and buy producing assets in the next 6 or so months. If I was running one of those companies, I would definitely be looking at taking advantage of the valuations for smaller miners because it is much, much cheaper to go and buy cash flow assets right now with the valuations that there are rather than building a mine from scratch.